you mentioned putting on a different face. The way I kind of describe that for my clients is it's almost like a different persona that you have to kind of put on depending on who you're interacting with. And you want your kind of 10,000 foot view story and your 30,000 foot view story. And the, people that are closer to you can kind of give a little bit more detail, but you kind of want to make sure you have your boundaries in place. But being able to have an outlet through journaling and through your friends, through your therapist, to get all it out, to be completely authentic about what you're feeling, good, bad, and ugly, so you process that, so that when you have to engage with him or people that are around him, you're able to put on that other persona.
Well, exactly. I love how you said that. I think that's really right. It's not that you're not authentic, and it's really important to process that side of your emotions and your sadness and all of those things. It's just that you can't live in that all the time, and it probably doesn't serve you, to your point about boundaries, to let that be your front-facing self all the time. You don't necessarily want to let your neighbor, who you don't see all the time, into that particular part of it. And the reason that that's important to you is because I think things ripple, and there's a really positive cycle of grace that's created when someone sees you treating someone that you're struggling with love and grace. They might be more likely to do that in a situation they're in as well. I think that can be a positive influence in a way that, we probably don't even know, right, that happens out there in the world sometimes, but some energy that we put out there, some modeling of behavior, can influence others that we don't even know about. And I like to think about that. I like to think about that.
Yeah, that kind of gives you more intention around it. So the thing I like about that is it's almost like you're imagining that people are thinking, what would Andra do in this situation? Because they've kind of seen how well you handled a very difficult, especially your kids. I mean, I think that's beautiful. And the fact that you're thinking about it from that more like, what energy am I putting out into the world? And I need to be cognizant of that. I think that's beautiful. So,
keeps you accountable a little bit to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, so now we kind of have a sense of how you were able to separate your emotions from your more logical self and the different personas that you would wear based on who you were communicating with. What were the nuts and bolts of how you would communicate? So were there certain elements in your communication style that you kind of pulled from to help you keep that communication productive when you were feeling all that overwhelmed?
Yeah. And actually, this is something that I love to do with my clients. And I think it's really, really useful. But what I ended up figuring out, and I didn't have it as formalized as I do now when I was going through it. But, for my clients, I often make a communications plan for them. Right? We talk about what our goals are. What do we want to achieve through whatever it is that we're doing? What is our strategy? What are some different tactics that we're going to use? We almost always have, message points that we rely on to get those tactics out there. So I actually love doing a version that I've created of a communications plan for my clients. So we talk about, I like to do a personal mission statement with people. I think it can be really meaningful because it keeps you on track. What is it that is valuable to you? Who do you want to be? And if that's sort of the, you were talking about the 30,000 foot, right? If that's your umbrella messaging that's out there about who you are, that you feel accountable to, and that's authentic to you, somebody else isn't making this up, right? This is who you want to be. Then how through the divorce can you deliver on that? What will you need to do in order to be that person throughout your divorce process? And that might mean coming up with some key messages. And I really love this for a lot of reasons. I think key messages are so important, especially and even more so when you're in a more high conflict situation, because you can be that much more emotionally triggered in those situations when, perhaps your ex is texting or, emailing or calling, and you feel like you're just responding and you're overwhelmed and you're angry, and probably justifiably so, right? It's probably, he or she might be very legitimately trying to provoke you.
Yeah.
The trick is, though, then if you can come up with sort of a list of 4 or 5 key messages that you just sort of have at the ready that you can text back, then that takes the emotion out of it. And that's the part that I think makes the biggest difference for people in creating a communications plan for divorce. The reality is that the stakes are really high in this situation. They're high financially, socially, emotionally, you name it, right? So we're in this situation where the stakes are high. We probably, in an ideal situation, would like to be at our best, but we're probably pretty close to our worst. So what do we need to do to give ourselves some extra tools and opportunities to be more successful in this? Because the reality is we have goals we need to get to, right? We need to come up with successful child plans. We need to come up with an equitable financial situation. We need to take care of ourselves. You want to be there for the people you love, probably have to go to work. All these things are hard when you're feeling so down and overwhelmed. But creating a communications plan that defines your divorce goals, and I'm talking goals from as simple as I want to be a good co-parent to it's important to me that I keep the house, for example. Maybe that's your main priority. Maybe your main priority is I want to be able to afford a place in X part of town. Maybe you want to move. Whatever it is, to be clear about what those are and then figure out what the tactics are to get there will help you take the emotions out of the decisions that you have to make in those moments and give you some clarity around them so that you don't have to just respond in that instant with your gut, but you're really looking at, okay, I know what to do in this situation. When he or she says X, I have a message point for that.
I love this. I love it. I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you about to say?
I just can keep going and going about this. So.
No, I love it. And the thing I love about it is I often will help clients with dialogue because when you're overwhelmed, you can't think of the words often.
Right.
You just can't think of the words. And you're in reactive mode and you're not being, you're not being productive. So what I like about this is the way you've kind of framed it is you literally you have already probably preconceived some of the message points based on working with your clients and your own experience. So it's a little bit more organized than trying to do it case by case. So
that's exactly right.